And I'm recognizing, yes, it's about doing my best to protect you, but it's also fear on my part because I know what depression can do to a person. Maybe some control because I don't want you to have to go to that space. And I hear you and it connects to the asceticism. I just gotta let you be crucified in some of these moments and just trust that you got the wherewithal and the strength.
Why do you think that scares you so much?
I tried to kill myself from depression.
Yeah.
I know what that shit can do, and I didn't know you was depressed until after the fact. Pretty much the whole last year, I know you were struggling with Cleo and just mad shit that was going on in your life personally. But that was scary to hear. I never told you I was scared when you told me that. My nigga, everything is love, but that on anything I love. Yeah.
Peace, beloved.
We are recording. And so we just gotta stay on top of our toggles.
Go ahead, take the glasses off.
Because that wasn't a part of my fit.
I like them.
Thank you.
You look cute.
Thank you. We don't have our middle camera because I kind of messed it up. I dropped some stuff and then the camera just wouldn't send a signal anymore. So we're using 2 cameras. You got anything you got to say?
Well, now I get to have some buffer space when I need to pick my nose and scratch my armpits and shit like that. I can do it with autonomy now.
That's fair.
How you feel? I know this, day 3 of that thing, Little Red Riding Hood. You just went and do mad stuff to get us set up. How you feel?
Have y'all realized that I start my cycle every time we are recording? I never get the opportunity to just be chill in a good bodily space. Every time we record, it just happens to fall on the day of my cycle.
So should we start trying to honor your spring? Should we do that? And you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, my different cyclical cycle months. Well, I don't track my cycle. A lot of women track their cycle so they know when it's going to come. I don't do that. So that's really why we end up here, because I just don't track it.
Maybe we need to.
Yeah. Maybe. Shit. It's hot in here.
How you feel though?
I mean, I feel like I'm on my cycle. I'm hot. I just how long did this setup take me? It took me at least 3 hours.
You've been going since 10 o'clock this morning. It's now about to be 3 o'clock.
So how many hours is that? 10, 11,
About 5 or
12,
6.
1, 2. So it took me more than 3 hours to set this up. So shit, I'm here.
So this about to be a loopy one?
You see, I'm laid back like I'm in the Cadillac.
Fried, died, and laid to the side.
Mm-hmm. My eyes sitting low, or like my beat down low, down low, down low.
So why was you gonna go to the store?
Because I was already in go mode. So it was just like I gotta go to the store, get some stuff. I was gonna come back and then get to it.
We're gonna talk about some of that. Okay.
Sure.
You can go ahead and introduce.
I don't know if I want to sit like this. I need to sit up. I need to assert myself like a distinguishable young lady.
You could be a real YN. It's okay.
A real YN.
Mm-hmm.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to. Why am I looking at that camera? This is my camera. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another episode. And all of that staying in. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of God Is Me Again. I am one of your hosts, Candyss Love.
I'm your boy, Brickcitibuddha.
And
Her husband.
And I'm his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And this is our podcast.
What is it called?
God Is Me Again.
And what's our other one? We got another one called Take Their Mics. We're gonna get back to that too. We wait for opportunities to have a vital, nice, juicy piece of content. We don't want to just force that down your throat. So when that comes, we'll get back to that. But in the meantime, y'all been engaging. God Is Me Again, like y'all really missed it. So please continue to do so. I think most of our videos is like 10,000 plus, and working the algorithm back into a rhythm is a lot of times difficult. So for y'all to be showing up like this, we greatly appreciate y'all.
Yeah, and we never really tell y'all to like, comment, subscribe.
At the end of the video, we say it.
Yeah, we always say it at the end, but
say it like Jay Mills.
How Mills say it?
I gotta steal your joint, Jay Mills. If you're new here, let me tell you what we do here.
Yeah.
Like this video. If you got the option, hype this video. Subscribe to this video. Share this video with your bald-headed single auntie. And tell her we the realest platform in the game.
Yeah. I wish I knew that one. So yeah, what we talking about today?
All right. So we're gonna go through a mixture of topics.
Okay.
It's probably gonna be a long one. Get your mind out the gutter. And just to preface it, we're gonna talk about a different form of climax. Busting spiritual nuts and emotional nuts, right? I know that may sound super vulgar, but we're going to break it down step by step. Yeah, so I wanted to connect this to the relationship sector because I realized that I think one of men's most pivotal positions as far as male leadership, when we with a woman, especially with a powerful woman, is being able to help navigate energy expenditure. Just like you was about to go to the store to get your tampons when there was no reason you needed to do that. At a certain point, Candyss was working on the system, and I showed her a reference of what our previous videos looked like. And this is a super small example, but she looks at it and then she goes back to work on the system and she's still holding it in her hand. And I'm realizing you don't need to hold it. So I take it out your hand. You don't even realize I took it out your hand. And your hand is still like this. I'm like, baby, put your hand down. Right. Yeah. And she did, but she didn't even recognize the fact that she was still in such a go mode. Understandably so, because you wanted to hurry up and get through this process. But women have so much unbridled force to be able to create and do. Y'all can get consumed in your own desire to want to get things done right then and there, even if it causes depletion. And part of what your ChatGPT and your body was saying in that moment, we don't need further depletion. We need you to replete. We need you to be in consumption. And this actually correlates to a argument that we got into like maybe about 3-4 weeks ago at this point. And I had brought up the posting thing. Right. Because, and mind you, we just pretty much sold out our retreat. We got one spot left for anybody that wants to attend our Texas Healing Retreat, May 28th to May 31st. We pretty much sold out again, probably our 11th or 12th sold out retreat. Yeah. Right. Last year, you was experiencing a depression where you couldn't give much energy to being able to promote. I took it on myself. I got it done. We got it done. And we had a beautiful, successful seed being planted for our first retreat in the States, which is Texas. Right. We was taking a walk and I pulled you into my heart and I let you know beyond just the logistics of us selling out this retreat, when we have all these different things we're doing in concert whether it's the retreat, some of these things I can't mention just yet that we got on the horizon. We do a lot of business individually as well as a couple. And I was expressing to you that beyond us selling things out or being able to make profit, our family needs you in some of these ways that you may have so much things going on. You may not recognize this is priority for right now. You took that suggestion. You took me opening my heart in that way beautifully. You even said the fact that I encapsulated in a way of our family needs you in this way beyond I need you to post more. It's like our family needs us, right? You immediately got on your job. And then again, new things was coming up, new ideas, and you started to fragment your attention again. And when I recognized it, maybe a couple weeks later, you know, I brought it up. I'm like, baby, we need to talk. And you was in the midst of doing a lot. You was literally breaking down the episode. We had other things on the horizon. So you was in a moment of depletion and exhaustion. And when I brought it up, it was not just a reminder of, you know, you may have fallen off again with the posting. It was more so, I know we got all these different things that we want to do, but let's just put some of these on the back burner so you get to do less work. In the moment of me saying that, though, you was already exhausted. You was already extremely tired, and some depression type of energy was working through you in ways I didn't recognize until I brought it up and we kind of got into it. But in that moment, you went off. And part of what I wanted to talk about is how important the freedom to be angry in a relationship really is. We've had not many, and we've talked about it on previous episodes, but we've each given each other the freedom and the autonomy to, if we need to go there, we trust, we have confidence, and we know I need to give you the freedom of busting this emotional nut right now without taking it personally, right? And in the moment when you started to yell and scream, you kept saying over and over, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. And I'm trying to say, like, I'm asking you to do less, but I knew in that moment that conversation became a vehicle, a conduit, and a portal for you to express, I'm frustrated with life right now. I'm in one of those pockets where forget posting, I'm overwhelmed, I got too much going on. And I was trying to express in that moment. I even said when it got to the point where you was yelling, I went upstairs, you was about to go outside, I was about to take the car and go my way. And we kind of continued to like do the little back and forth a little bit. But I was saying, you can't pull yourself away. This keeps happening because you can't stop some of these things that you get caught up in the whirlwind or the portal of, and those mount up into the recurring exhaustion and depression and things of that nature. Before I go forward, did you want to say anything to that?
Nope.
So in that moment, it really came to a head because when we went our separate ways, I was in the car, and we've had, like I said, some of those moments before. But I was in the car and you had went off. I didn't scream back, but I don't know if I would say saucy. I think I was just direct and firm when you was downstairs and I was putting my clothes on, that I recognized the program that, you know, some of these moments of depression and exhaustion is because you have difficulty pulling yourself out of the portal when you see a creative tunnel. But when I was in the car, this was the first time I recognized that not only was I able to afford you that autonomy to go off, just like you've been able to do for me at different times. This was the first time where I recognized I had no residue. I had no anger. I had no frustration. I put on my meditation because that's what I would normally do. And I recognized I don't even really need to put this on. I'm Gucci. And this was the first time where I recognized I have developed the ability to truly give you the freedom to go through whatever pocket, whether it's anger, rage, frustration, whatever it is, and not attach myself to your state of being in that moment. That's the real freedom, because I could say, okay, you can go off, but if I still feel a way about it, and if I'm carrying that for the next hour, for the next day, for the next week, even if I'm a functional partner, even if I'm acting like it's all good, you still gonna feel that tug, and vice versa. This was the first moment where I realized we've had so much practice, and me as a man and the leadership that I need to display, and your unbridled creativity, and me in the pockets when it's necessary, me giving borders, me giving barriers to direct and concentrate that unbridled force you have as a woman. I recognized that was the first time where I was able to see that I've really gotten to a point where I can watch the sun be the sun and kind of not get burned by it in that moment, and continue to stay in the pocket of just leadership. And after you bust the emotional nut, I was talking to a client about this, and he has experienced different similarities in his relationship. There was no need to go back to the conversation, because the post-nut clarity, if you will, did what it needed to do. We never had to have another talk about that. And you just went next day. You went right back into your rhythm. We didn't have to have, oh, baby, I'm sorry. None of that. But we was good. The next day, we was actually good before the next day, but you went right back into what it was I was asking you for, which was not just posting, but putting some of these other things on the back burner to maintain your equilibrium.
Yeah, I think it's just really hard because the energy that women have to put out to be in a real creative space, especially like if you are in a portal with that space, it's like such a powerful space to be in that can't nobody tell you how to do it. And so when there is like, it's almost like a tornado.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to kind of describe what it feels like, because I think that's important for men to be able to hear.
Yeah, it's like a tornado, like a warp. I don't even know how to, like a force field, but it's a force field that you are stuck in. And then it's also frustrating if you don't want to be there to begin with. Like, I don't want to do this shit. Like, I just know how to do it. It doesn't mean I want to do it. If I don't do it, then it's not going to get done unless we outsource it. And so there's the burden of knowing how to do it. It's the burden of having to do it. And then it's the burden of not even wanting to do it. Like, there's other things that I would have preferred to be doing with my time. So it also looks like I'm about to do this shit now because nobody else understands what it feels like to be in this portal, to be in this warped force field that I can't get myself out of. But on top of that, if I do say, okay, I'm gonna pause and come back to it, I gotta pause and actually come back to this shit.
What you mean?
If you already don't want to do it because the force field is such a strong space to be in, pausing it and then be like, I'll enter the force field tomorrow. I'll
It's
enter
like
it
double
again.
work?
It's not even just double work. It's having to calm your body enough to convince yourself to actually do the shit again. Like, if I were to tell most people you about to have to lift 500 pounds today, they'd be like, cool, I just got to lift it one day.
Yeah.
But then to be like, hold on.
Yeah, lift it halfway today.
Lift it halfway and then go lift it again tomorrow. And then until you figure out how to really do it, you got to lift it again every single day for the rest of the week. It takes a lot to sit a person down and try to convince them you about to have to lift this 500 pounds every day for the next week until you finish whatever the mission is. Mentally, the average person is not going to be able to psych themselves out enough to show up again and again and again when they already don't want to do it. They just know that they've been called to do it. So it's a personal relationship between myself, this force field, and God, and the mission to show up for our family, that it's hard to be able to say, you know, just put a little bit to the side and focus on this. Where I'm like, man, this is all I got. Like, I can't focus on this another day and be able to give my all and not feel depleted. The more that I inch off or, you know, just do a little bit less or a little bit less to maintain my peace of mind, it'll give me peace of mind, yeah, in the moment, kind of, but I'm still thinking about all of the other stuff that I have to do and working up the strength in my body to just show up to do that. So when it was the moment where I'm going off on you, it's like, you're not doing this. So you don't feel the intensity of what it feels like to have to just keep doing it. And there is the excitement to just get it out the way and get it done so I can return back to softness, so I can return back to peace, so I can return back to just being comfortable. Not unless you are a tech person, maybe you find fun in it. I find fun in when I actually figure it out. But a lot of this stuff is me not knowing what I'm doing and trying to figure it out as I go, and knowing that I have to do that. So the energy that you also got was also evidence of that force field that I was in. So it's like that energy has to go somewhere. I can't go take a nap. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can meditate, but when I come out of meditation, it's going to be like, damn, still got to do this shit. So there's an aspect to creative energy where there's excitement to be creative. But then there's an aspect to it becomes a chore. And then not only does it become a chore, there's also a process to becoming a slave to it. And I was in the process of just feeling like a straight slave to it. And that's not a knock, because I don't know anybody who creates something great that doesn't have to go through that spectrum. So I understand that that's a aspect of it, and I'm willfully accepting that because I'm a deep creative person. And if I start something, I'm going to finish it and I'm going to figure it out. But I think when I was going off and I was really upset and frustrated and just acknowledging how tired I was, it was just me trying to bring you into this force field because, you know, and this was obviously unconsciously. I wasn't intelligent enough in the moment to be like, I'm going to bring you into my force field.
Yeah, no doubt.
It was more just like that force coming out of my body, like Jean
Gray, yeah.
You know, and she didn't have any control of all of the energy that was coming out of her body. And what you can't tell her is just calm down. It's just like she can't, you know what I'm saying? So in those moments, I was grateful that you had the capacity to hold what I was pushing out, because it's so much that I was doing. I didn't have any other place to put it. You know, you kind of got that projection. And then the next day, you know, I think we've done a great job in the beginning of our relationship with talking about things that, you know, bothered us, or especially if we had disagreements. But I think we've gotten to a place to where it's like, are you going to make the adjustment or not? And if you make the adjustment, we don't really need to keep talking about this over and over again. Like, I don't feel called to continue a conversation where I already know you're going to make the adjustment. I don't feel called to hash out more of a disagreement if you already know I'm going to make the adjustment. We had the disagreeable moment. It's just not necessary to keep like harping on. So I really love that we've gotten to a place to where we don't have to keep talking about things that we already know. I'm not going nowhere. You're not going nowhere. I know your heart and your best intentions. You know my heart and my best intentions. A blow up is literally an opportunity to just get residue of energy out of our bodies. And we don't take it personally as if it's anything more than that. And we don't disrespect each other in the process as well. So that makes it extremely easy. We don't use ad hominems. We stick to the subject. We stick to the topic. We aren't bringing in a whole bunch of past situations that happen. We're staying right here present in this moment. So there's less opportunity for unnecessary feelings to get hurt.
Yeah, that's where I was about to go, and I got a couple questions on what you said, because I'm actually getting more clarity of the portal, the what you call it, the tornado.
Yeah,
force field.
the force field.
The force field. I'm getting more clarity on it right now. The last part of what you said, I love when you say ad hominems. By the way,
yeah,
fancy.
I learned that word last year.
You ain't letting that thing go. Fancy. But as far as, you know, having room for safe anger in a relationship, and people may hear this story and think that we advocate, no, you could just go off whenever you want and just fly off the handle. You got to have a certain level of clarity in your spirit and your understanding of your partner to know where and when. Because like I said, I may have initiated this story, but we both offered that to each other. And that was to the point, you feel it in the moment, like in this particular moment, being that it was going through my system, but when I got in the car, I'm like, damn, I'm clear. I still felt it. I still felt all that force field was still, the force was felt by me. But we aren't, like you said, taking that and expanding that into, okay, now we get to be disrespectful, right? And we're not using it as a get out of jail free card. We've been together going on almost 7 years. Still to this day, counting both of us on one hand, the times we've needed to use this safety and anger. So we're not advocating that y'all just have shouting matches and go off and I'm just passionate, this is how I am. We're not saying that. But when you do recognize, like it's almost to the degree now where we've had enough practice with it, and I know you well enough, I know myself well enough, in the moment as I'm receiving the force, it's like a switch goes off and my understanding of what's happening in the moment is like, oh, I'm not being yelled at, I'm being yelled through. As soon as you started to say, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I knew the conversation had just come to a fork in the road and you split off and went into the direction of you really exposing your heart and what was going on in your state of being at large beyond whatever it was I was asking for and your resistance or lack of understanding or however you felt about it. I understood you had just took a left turn, and now as if somebody was in the room, they're like, yo, you being based on, bro. Like what's part of manhood is that? I'm recognizing that not only do you need this release, this emotional nut, but this is actually intimacy because you are letting me in right now in a moment and an opportunity that until I brought it up, you were just going to grin and bear it and continue to do what you did. And you let me know. I feel reminiscent of how I felt last year. I was depressed all last year. I'm starting to feel some of that right now, which correlated to part of why you wanted to do the fast and all those different things. So this is a ground for people who are doing the work to some degree, maybe getting the therapy, reading the books, doing the meditation. So you got enough space and distance from your belief system, your perspective of what you feel and what your partner feels, and enough space and distance from your emotion to be able to still feel it and have it pass through your system, but not identify with it or weaponize it or victimize yourself by it, because that was a moment of a human being. I was very overwhelmed, being an overwhelmed human being. That's beyond how I feel about it in that moment. That's one thing. And like you said, there's never been a time, and it's not many things I could guarantee in this life. I can guarantee there will never be a moment of dissension that causes one of us to say something we can't make it back from.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of people I work with, especially men, when I'm working with couples, I'm working with my individual brothers, they'll be in semi-functional relationships, but it's this one thing she said year 3 and they in year 7 or year 8 that's still eating away at that man. And it ain't always some overt you a BAN or nothing like that. That's why I ain't want to have your baby. You know what I'm saying? And there could even be married, without getting into specifics of who it was, there was certain things that he admitted to exhibiting that made her feel unsafe with having a child with him, even though she wanted to have children with him. They both wanted to have family. In the conversations they had previous about her apprehensions, what she needed him to improve on, all that was understandable. But when it comes in a moment of anger, and that's why I want to have, it's a completely different situation that I've been in therapy with him for the past year and a half. And of all the things that still keep coming up and the progress that they have made, every time they get into it, it's like that wound shoots right back to the center in the forefront of his heart. So that's another thing, being able to have open, safe space for anger. You got to know within your heart of hearts, you will never be in that pocket where anger will dictate you to say something that y'all can never make it back from. Right. And then let me ask you this as far as the force field.
Well, let me
go ahead. What you got?
Because I saw a post by, I think it was Spectacular from Pretty Ricky, the group Pretty Ricky. And he basically said something that I see a lot of people saying. I think they kind of just taking the same topic and like putting their own spin on it.
More spec reference.
But they basically are saying things like, you know, a man isn't a man if he polices his woman's tone when she speaks. And I don't agree with that. Because what you're not going to do is just yell because you don't have any other tools to express yourself. And just because a man is a man doesn't mean that he has to sit in front of someone that's being disrespectful, doesn't have the opportunity or the capacity to manage their tone, doesn't have the emotional intellect to be able to express themselves without getting to a place that becomes nasty. And so we already recognize that frequency either heals the body or it kills it. And so this is why they changed the frequency of our music. They changed the hertz of our music, the rap music that they play on TV. They know that just the frequency alone is literally deteriorating our body. Whereas you have people who have cancer who go to sound therapists because the frequency of that literally heals their body. There's certain cars that'll drive by us with those loud mufflers. And when they drive by, it hurts my body so much. I break out and start
tears,
crying. I have tears because it affects the body so deeply. So we can't acknowledge that sound is literally the portal that allows people to time travel. It's the portal that allows the body to heal or literally die, but then say that it's okay for a woman to yell at their man or a man to yell at their woman. And with that, yes, it will be moments where you have to recognize when your spouse just may need to get that energy out of their system. That is an anomaly. It's not a common trait. If you are constantly yelling, that's a part of your character. That's a part of who you are. That's how you show up. That's how you communicate to get your point across. And that's also how you communicate to project your energy onto other people. But there will be certain moments in relationships where we can offer our spouses grace because their emotions and whatever it is they're experiencing in their internal world has gotten so heightened that they just have to get that energy out. And that's why it's important to know when a person is yelling at you versus when they are yelling through you because they need that moment to soothe themselves. And you are the only person that can be a conduit to allow them to do that. That is actual love. That is actual intimacy. So in this moment with my husband, I'm not yelling at him.
Right.
I'm not saying ad hominems about him. I'm not saying anything about his character. I'm speaking about I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm overwhelmed. I'm yelling about what I feel and almost like a way to make it clear and make it known. I'm overwhelmed and I'm at the end of my rope and I don't have anywhere to go. So even in that yelling, it was still about me.
Right.
It wasn't about anything that he was doing wrong or should have been doing better. It was about getting clear on what I feel and what's happening within my body. So there was a lot more room for him to give me grace in my moments of yelling because I'm expressing what I'm actually feeling internally as opposed to being hostile based on something that he has done wrong or something that I perceive that he could have done better. It was more of a projection of my actual emotions, not a projection on my anger towards you, because there wasn't anger, there was pain and there was exhaustion. So there has to be moments where you have the ability to discern when you have crossed the threshold into disrespect, because that's what's not welcome and that's what's not allowed. And when a person is disrespectful to you, you don't have to take them yelling at you. You don't even have to take their tone being elevated past a point that makes you uncomfortable. It doesn't matter if you are a man or a woman. There should be an actual practice of you being mindful of your tone. And when you're getting to a space to where your tone is actively affecting the other person. So that discernment to know when it's necessary because that person just needs this moment, which will be rare. That's not something that happens often. Versus when a person is just yelling because that's just who they are.
So a few things to that. And, you know, I often talk about knowing what the work is. And a lot of this has to do with men needing to be better in some of these situations. When the switch went off and I saw this is about your state of being right now. Of course, we may have started with the very noble logistics from my male perspective of these certain things that we need to focus on is affecting our most recent and current bottom line, which of course is male leadership, right? I'm not talking about the posting and being consistent with that just because I'm annoyed. It's like, this is what's going to take the main thing in the next few months. It's going to take care of us and catapult us to all these other ideas, male leadership. But in a moment where I recognized the shift and you took that left at the fork in the road, and like you said, this is about me right now. a lot of men may take that as a lot of men do take women's tears in these moments, women's anger, women's tone, and all these different expressions of that energy y'all been bundling up. We take it as, a lot of men take it as, oh, you deflecting. Oh, you making this about you now. And then we feel like our overall point gets lost. I didn't feel like this, but a lot of men feel like what I brought up, now we can't even talk about this because now I got a whole space for your tears. I got a whole space for your anger. And we probably never even going to wrap back around to this. And then we feel like we drowning in the situation. In the moment, there's also an opportunity for recognizing the work has shifted. As a man in that moment when I brought up, not just for the posting, but accommodating for your energy. And I still want to double back to some questions on the force field.
Yeah.
But I was also trying to protect you from not having to expend so much energy. But when you screaming, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I recognize that is no longer priority right now in this moment. Right now, my wife's well-being trumps whatever we got to do financially, whatever butts we got to put in the seats for this retreat. That's now back burner. I was able to see that in a moment. That priority has now shifted, but that's because we've helped each other to be able to work through so much of our ego that even when we in an angry pocket, it's still spiritual. Ego is not driving the ship. And I was able to have, men need to be able to have the clarity of being able to see those stark contrast and shifts, because y'all can go through this range of emotion very quickly. We are very rigid in many times and needing to do one thing at a time. Even how we approach our work is very fragmented. It's very linear, like I always say. So when the emotional radio dial, y'all may be at hot 97 and y'all can go all the way to 105 in a matter of 1 minute. And it's kind of like when you say, you're taking me too fast, right? We almost feel like you're taking me too fast, and sometimes we lose the clarity of understanding. This ain't a matter of her trying to deflect or using the anger or the tears to get me off of my point. She has just time jumped and leaped from Hot 97 to Power 105, the logistics of posting to I'm letting you know I'm about to be depressed again, docs. And now I need to be able to shift my dial and be able to incorporate things that are correspondent to depression, as opposed to we got to put butts in the seats. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's on point as far as the tone policing. I feel like men say it more now, where they don't want to be tone police. And I know a lot of men that I work with, we come from particular backgrounds. We come from the hood. We talk loud to each other. You say all the time, I don't know how y'all be saying some of the stuff y'all say to each other when y'all play basketball, when y'all battle rap. Women will fight right then and there. And this is just regular for us. So a lot of times we don't even realize how much it rattles y'all system when we go up. And y'all could check out this, the nerd in me. Y'all could check out Wilhelm Reich. Reich is R-E-I-C-H, and Royal Raymond Reich. These are two gentlemen that before the chemotherapy era started, they were, and it's documented, they had healed hundreds of people with like 100% success rate from being able to find where the mutated cells was, whether it was cancer or whatever type of disease it was. And there's actually footage on YouTube where you can see this process. Once they found a mutated cell, all they did to heal the person was go through a range of frequencies. And when they got to the right frequency specific to that mutated cell, it would explode.
Yep.
And they had 100% success rate. They got demonized and dragged through court and all this other stuff, and people don't even realize it now. But that's just an example of how important the tact of being able to get these things across. I always say it's 3 components to the tact of relaying your message. You got the timing, you got the verbiage, you got the tonality. Tonality is the package that message comes in. I could give you the best Christmas gift of all time. If it's in a beat up cardboard box, you're going to feel a little bit different about opening that thing up, whatever is inside of it. So we got to understand that as well. Did you have anything to that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Tone more than matters. When I was in high school, my mom and I were very big on communication. And I say this all the time on the podcast. When we would have disagreements, when I would become, a high schooler, I'm a teenager, and maybe I want my curfew to be a different time, and maybe certain things are happening in school that she may not understand but need clarity on. So we would have these conversations, and my mom taught me that when we speak, we keep our hand here. As the conversation progresses and someone starts raising their tone to a point that makes you uncomfortable, once I pass my head, that means you've gotten to a space to where I can no longer hear you.
Yeah.
And not only can I no longer hear you, my boundary for myself is I'm not willing to hear you, because that is not the only way to communicate. And while some people only know certain ways to communicate by raising their tone, this is where we have to practice meeting in the middle, or this is where we have to decide if we are compatible or not. So there will be opportunities for a person to just not have the capacity to calm themselves. And maybe it is meant for you to hold space for their anger and just let them express. That's a lot of grace and that's a lot of love. And also, you got to earn that. You have to earn the ability to be able to just show up in your authenticity, and while the other person also feels safe in that space. If a person can feel safe in that space, that's a testament to how safe you have created the environment. And it's also a testament to the fact that this is not your norm to speak in a way that causes so much internal chaos in the person that's listening to you. So for you to have the ability to raise that tone to a level that makes another person uncomfortable, and them not set the boundary with you that says, you can't talk to me like that. That means that you have done enough work to let them know that, hey, this is just a safe space. I just need to get this out. I just need to express myself authentically. If that's not the case, if you have not earned the privilege of being able to speak to a person with a certain tone, then the only option is for us to come to an agreement that neither one of us will raise our voices, or we are not compatible to have this conversation, and the conversation will not happen. I see so often where people will book sessions and they're like, hey, my wife yells, my husband yells, and it literally makes me feel debilitated. I don't know what to do on my body. I grew up in a household where people yelled. Most of us grew up in families where the only way that we could be heard was to yell to get our point across. Myself included, my family is extremely loud. But with that, we don't take into consideration what that does to another person's nervous system. A lot of times it shuts them down. And so we're looking to have the responses that we would like, which is open communication, emotional maturity. When you yell and you raise that tone of voice, their body's going to fight or flight. So they don't know if they can trust you or not. They don't know if they should feel safe or not. It's not enough to say that just because you are a man, you should be able to take my tone. Or as a woman, just because you're angry, you should be able to yell. The intention is to make everybody feel safe in the conversation. So tone policing is going to happen. And I think it's necessary and it's healthy. But there is a moment where some people may use tone policing to deflect. It's more on you to be able to discern if you are with that type of person, because that's manipulation. So either you're trying to make a relationship work with somebody who is sincere and they aren't just tone policing you because they're trying to deflect from accountability, or you're trying to make a relationship happen and work with the person who's manipulative and they have no intention on taking accountability. So they are using your tone as a way to get out of that accountability. You have to know the difference.
Yeah, so it's a lot to that. I'll start from the last thing you said, so you don't pause me. I was about to say that a different way. I think it's more so about tone awareness than tone policing, because policing is going to come with a consequence. I'm going to get locked up. My life is going to shift. Tone awareness is where you have some level of adjustability and malleability and the ability to express. Right now, I'm in a pocket where we are not conversationally compatible. I'm going to get back to that in a second. And then with on this podcast, it's funny, right? When we got to come up with a thumbnail, it's very difficult for me to be able to find pockets where there is a shift in my face. Right? That's going to look like something somebody's going to want to be interested in and click on. Every 5 seconds, she done went through 40 different facial expressions. And I think that's something that's resonant as far as women. Y'all are very expressive creatures with your body in all these different ways. And men, especially from our communities, have been trained from our communities, have been trained to be even keel and to present as if we are unshakable, unmovable. I remember in Newark, New Jersey, just walking down the street, you had to have an ice grill. You had to have a stone face, because if a man saw a weakness in you, he may think, oh, I could rob this one. You know what I'm saying? So that was just part of our basic survival. And when we in these moments very early on in our relationship, we had to have conversations on how debilitating it was to me when your face would shift. And you had to let me know, like after I finally got brave enough to bring it up, and I let you know how it was difficult for me to work through those moments. And I'll never forget, you was like, you laughed and you was like, Docs, my mother been telling me my whole life, my face got subtitles, right? To this day, sometimes y'all will see her on tonight's conversation stage and she may not say a word, but the loudest thing in the building is her facial expressions, right?
My face gonna always
Facts.
tell what I feel.
A lot of women can relate to that. So in the moment, we got all this heightened energy. You got a man who may not have the ability to shift emotional radio dials with you. And then you may not even be audibly yelling, but your face may feel like it's yelling. And when I brought the conversation up, I think I expressed like, yo, it feels like you are expressing that you hate me in these moments. And you was able to let me know, Docs, I definitely don't hate you. This is one part of my facial expression culture. I've always been boisterous with my facial expression, positive and not positive or negative, but when I'm happy or sad, right? You're going to see it on my face. You was able to lay the groundwork of culture, and you was also able to let me know, yes, there may be frustration in the moment. Yes, I may be trying to figure out the best way to listen to you and hear you and say what I got to say, but it's never a matter of I just hate you now and I've shifted towards how I look at you. But you also gave me the caveat, but I could also see how that's difficult for you. So if it's ever a problem, you got the autonomy to bring it up, and I won't take it as if you're policing me. I'll take it as your facial expression, tone, awareness, right? So it could be the audible nature of what you're saying, the facial expression, the posture. I know when I used to shut down and check out, my whole posture would shift. I get quiet. And in that conversation, I'm saying things like, yeah, you got it. You're right. I got you. Right. Not to you. In previous relationships, I would say all of that. It would end the conversation, but nothing is resolved within me. And I didn't know how else to express that in those moments. So I think it's more so awareness versus the policing thing.
Yeah.
And then a few more things. I came into this relationship with a yell wound. I have been yelled at a lot in my life. Of course, Bayesian father, you know what I'm saying? A mother from down south, they used to go off when they needed to go off. But more so in my relationships, I was with a lot of very aggressive East Coast, tell you off in a minute type of women. And I got yelled at a lot. I came into this relationship with that wound still open. But being with a woman who a huge part of your power, and if y'all have ever listened to Candyss before, y'all know how powerful the delicacy in your voice is. Like you can heal and calm a room with the natural tone of your voice. That was healing me in ways that neither of us probably even recognized before we ever even got to an argument. So some of that cachet was already built up, whereas my I can't be yelled at non-negotiable is negotiable now. Because you earned it. That was part of how you earned it, because you have so much healing energy, not just in your voice, but how you positively reinforce, how you positively pre-enforce when you got to bring something to my attention I need to be better at, do more of, or do differently. You more than likely are going to hit me with what I'm doing great already, right? So you've built up a lot of that cachet, and part of the reason that you've earned the ability for me to not take it away when you need to be explosive, because in that moment, as you was yelling at me, you got a good amount of your clip off. You probably yelled for a good 45 seconds. In fight time, 45 seconds a long time. In yell time, that's a long time, right?
Yeah, because at some point, I think I just recognized, hey, this kind of feels good.
Yeah.
And he's not arguing back. So it's like there was a silent...
Hold on. Go ahead.
It's like there was a silent knowing
I can get my shit off. I can bust
that you were just letting it happen. Like you were leaving room for me to express. I've never yelled, I'm exhausted. Like I've never yelled that. So when you are watching me as I yell that, and I see this like little portal happening, it's like, oh, he kind of leaving room for me to yell. Yeah. So maybe I should just maximize this opportunity and get the energy out, because at that time it was clear that you were kind of inviting me to do so.
Nah, perfect. And part of the reason I stayed there, because in times past, maybe as soon as you get to that space, I may walk away. The time on the couch, which we talked about, that was the first time I recognized I'm being yelled through. This ain't even about me. And I stayed there and I took it. But in that moment, I wasn't trained enough yet to not have it affect me like it didn't affect me in this moment, right? And you mentioned you never really had a point, a bindu. Bindu is Sanskrit for drop or point. You never had a point to be able to yell through, a person to actually stand there and receive the brunt of whatever it is you felt about the moment, yourself, the world, life. So I know in these moments, as you get your emotional nut off, I gotta be, when y'all say don't move, don't stop doing that, like on a physical, sexual, I know I need to a certain degree, give her some time to be able to have a point to yell through for it to feel how the release needs to feel, right? So you did your thing for that 45 seconds. And then when you was done, the desire for resolution be so at the forefront for men, because we don't like knowing that y'all not vibing with us right now, that you don't like me right now. And a lot of times we don't trust the space of, oh, you don't like me right now? Is this going to be the end? Are you going to go hit up old boy, whatever it may be? I know that's not there. So I'm not gung-ho on, well, we got to fix this. I could leave it where it is right now. You got your nut off. And what do? There's nothing else I could do with this space. I walk away. And I put in my notes as you was talking, you got to be able to walk away in a long-term relationship. You got to be able to walk away from a person multiple times to be able to keep them long-term. And in that moment, there was no conversational compatibility left. We extremely compatible in all the ways. But y'all going to hit some of these moments where that compatibility does not exist in this particular topic. You bust your nut. I recognize ain't nothing left to do with this. So me walking away was me putting forth effort to salvaging not just what the moment needed, but what we needed long term, which was let this moment breathe. And we still continue to say little things to each other. Like I said, you was downstairs, I was upstairs, and it wasn't even petty. A lot of times people will say little lasting things after we say, we ain't going to talk about this no more. You just continue to mumble under your breath. It wasn't even that. And I recognized that as well. It was just the last little bits of what needed to come out in that moment coming from both sides. But it still was in a place where I knew all of this was conducive for us to get where we need to go. And last thing, part of why you have also earned me being able to hold that space, walk away, get in the car and realize I ain't take none of that personal. And I'm glad I was able to hold you down in that way, because we've had multiple moments now where you've shown we don't have to have the nice, neat, resolutionary conversation to know she got it.
Yeah.
And in the moments past, the resolution came without that. And you, both ways, we've been able to incorporate the things that we asked for in the beginning of the conversation. Mm-hmm. All that is what buys and affords you the ability to have a partner, if they have the awareness, to be able to hold this space for the emotional nut.
Yeah, I agree, because I think the best thing at this point is not having to talk about it again. Mm-hmm. It's made me start to realize how redundant words are and how much they just kind of hold a lot of space, unnecessary space. And I think those conversations, you have to keep drilling it in, because either one, you're still learning one another, which is fair. You know, we've been together, almost 7 years. So it's fair. We're still learning one another. So there may be times where we have to drill, you know, the end of a conversation to get to that solution. But we've kind of gotten to this place to where it's like, nah, I'm good. I've said all I had to say. I don't have anything else to add to the conversation. And we just know that the solution is already there, because that's where we are in the midst of the conversation. We're talking through solutions, and it's just nuances that's kind of getting us wrapped up through certain emotions. But in that moment, it was really nice for you to be able to hold the space for me, because we don't yell. And also a big thing too is I've never had the opportunity to really yell at anybody. Like I've never had. That's why this book that I still haven't put out yet, but it's coming out at some point. That's why this book is so important, because it's just talking about all the people that I probably should have yelled at since I was little, that I just never have. I've never spoken my mind. I've never been able to shout from the rooftops how I actually feel. And I've just never had a safe space to do that. My past relationships, I just would take it. I would keep the peace. I wouldn't say anything. So I've never, you know, how you had aggressive people that you were in relationships with in the past. I've always been it's not even submissive. I've just taken it,
Yeah.
whatever it was, even if it wasn't a person doing something, but it was just how I felt by what was done. I just took it. I just didn't say anything. So in our relationship, we don't have a relationship where we yell. But there are moments where if you get to that place, because you got to that place, I know there's something really going on because this is not your norm. So when I yell, there's a lot of cachet that you have as far as patience, because it's like, hey, you don't even talk like this. Same with you. If there's ever a moment where you get, you know, heightened, that's just not in your character. It's not how you speak. So there's an earning aspect to really being able to hold that type of space.
And a huge part of the leadership. So after everything happened, and I just said this, by the way, y'all, we got our new virtual monthly membership, our mentorship community that's going beautiful. We already got like 30 people in there vibing every day. We do classes weekly and stuff like that. But in our recent class, I brought up this story about this monk. He was like the assistant to the big dog, to the guru. And in this particular ashram, one of the rules was they could not touch a woman. Under no, not even just sexually. They couldn't even, you know what I mean? Nothing. Under no circumstances. So the assistant and the big dog yogi, they was taking a little trek. They was going somewhere. And at a certain point, they rolled up on this little river, this stream, and there was a young lady there. And she didn't have the strength to be able to stand firm to get safely across the stream. The big dog yogi, the guru, he immediately picks her up, puts her on his shoulders, and walks her across the stream, sets her down safely, bows, doesn't say a word, keeps it moving. And they continue to walk, but the assistant is just tripping out because it's like, bruh, y'all been telling me this whole 5-10 years I've been at this ashram, we can't touch a woman. You just picked her up and carried her across the stream. So when he finally worked up the courage to ask him, why did you do that? Why is that allowed for you? Whatever it was. The yogi smiles and looks at him and he was like, I carry her maybe 10 seconds. You've been carrying her for the past 2 hours up here, right? So a big part of the male leadership, and that's why I was so proud of myself in that moment in the car. That was the first time I've ever been in a volatile moment with anybody, but of course with my wife, where I wasn't continuing to carry the lady in my mind. I wasn't continuing to carry the storyline or the narrative of, was that fair? Was she really hearing me out? Should I say it again? And part of the recycling of the conversation, when I'm teaching meditation, it'll get to the point where people are laying on the mat and they're waiting for my command. They're waiting for my suggestion or my words to lead them deeper into meditation. At a certain point, I usually tell them, pay attention to the space between my words. More of the gospel is in my silence than you waiting for my command. So we'll have these cyclical conversations over and over and over again, but we never really afford the time to just let the silence download and allow us to process in the silence in between those conversations, 13, 14, 20th conversation you've had about the same thing. But did y'all ever actually have silence and peace to digest what has been said, what hasn't been said just yet? And it's not just in the physical audible silence, it's in your ability as a woman, but especially as a man. When I leave that conversation, I'm chilling, I'm going about my day, right? And I'm not carrying any of that energy. That's the part of male leadership, in the emotional silence, to be able to disconnect once the moment is over. You got anything else to that? All right, so I want to go back to the force field though. I need suggestions for myself and for the men that's out here when y'all are in those portals. It's reminiscent of asceticism, like, yo, I have to put myself in this position of suffering, right? For the end result. And it's almost the way you describe it, it feels like it's even more suffering if you asking me to set this thing down now to get myself back together, but I know I got to pick it up tomorrow, right? What would you suggest me or men in these positions with powerful women who create as much as you do? Do we just sit there and watch you suffer until you get through it all in one whop? Because we have a desire and a propensity to want to protect you, sometimes even from your own drive, your own initiative, that engine not allowing you to slow down. And I respect what you said. You gave me more clarity of the force field and how my request for, baby, just do it tomorrow. Let's cancel some of this out. It's still weighing on you. I didn't really look at it like that until today, but do you have any suggestions of how we should approach y'all in some of these moments?
Yeah, I think it's so, well, I can't speak for every woman, but I know I can speak for myself. Normally, when you are in a creative space, for the most part, you're left alone. Like, you're by yourself. When a painter paints, they're painting in their space by themselves. When a songwriter writes, they're writing. When there's poetry, they're probably writing by themselves, unless there's, the situations where there's a group session being had. But when you're in a really deep creative portal, there's a lot of freedom in having the ability to just be left alone. And I don't know that everybody will want that. Like, some people may want company. I don't know what everybody else will want. But I think that those spaces are such rewarding but painful spaces for me particularly to be in, that it's like I have to do it. I've never had a creative space that was just blissful. It starts off blissful, it starts off fun, and then it gets difficult and you realize, well, I gotta finish this thing and I'm gonna stay in this space until I finish it. Not everything is like that, but some things that are time sensitive require that, and this was time sensitive. So I think for me, I would just want space.
You okay? Your legs shaking.
Oh, my stomach hurt.
Okay.
Y'all know my energy is low. I'm on my cycle. I've been setting this shit up for 5 hours. So that's why my energy is low. It's nothing else. But yeah, I think in those spaces, maybe just space. There's a lot of the spectrum of emotion to just be allowed to go through all of the feels. Like, being exhausted is a part of creation.
That's true.
Being annoyed with the process is on that spectrum when it comes to creation as well. Getting so upset that you scrap everything and start over is a part of the process too. And a lot of times with people who are just like real deep creatives, that's still like being in heaven, even though it's painful. And so I don't know that I'm looking for bliss or that I'm looking for ease. A lot of times a part of me is also just looking for the validation of this shit is hard. Unless there's the option to pay outside sources to do it so I don't have to, then it means that the space has to be created for me to do it however I need to do it in that space. It don't mean that it's not room for me to learn how to possibly give myself a lot more ease in that space, because that's what you were advocating for.
Yeah.
Is how can you have more ease?
So let me ask you this. That does give me more clarity. In that particular moment, it was the technological stuff that you had been in the portal of, necessarily so, for like 6 days straight. We had the conversation on like the 6th day.
And I was on my cycle.
Of course. And and I didn't even know that you was at the tail end of finishing. You know what I'm saying? I ain't had that knowledge until we got into the conversation. But with all the other things, like, the events that we're about to start doing out here, working on the mentorship, like, it was about 5 or 6 different things, coupled with what really had you burnt out, which was the technical stuff for the podcast. You said you don't even know if, what was the word you just used? You said validation for this is hard. I forgot the other words you used, but do you even want the provision or the protection of let's eliminate a few of these things for right now? Do you want me to just let you go full throttle until you get to whatever wall you got to hit or completion? Like,
honestly, it's like, if I have to do it, then let me just do it. But if there's an opportunity where we can pay somebody to do this, I'm fully open to all of those conversations. But that wasn't a part of our conversations, you know.
hold on. I did mention that though. In the moment, that was one of the things. Like, if something got to be delegated, let me know. Of course, maybe I didn't cycle back around to it, but in the moment, that was part of what I was bringing up. But you was kind of getting into that mode of about to have your emotional nut. But sometimes, even in those moments, it'd be like, it's ours, but as you're doing this is your baby too. And you know, if it's going to get done a certain way, of course, little things that we delegate, like the little thumbnail, or, you know, we pay for those now and stuff like that. But certain things that's like your baby, your creative force that's unique to what you offer to it. Sometimes it's like, we'll have the conversation and maybe we need to delegate, but then that portal brings you back in. And it's like, not that you say I need to do this my way, but you end up, you know, doing it your way in a way that feels good to you. So like, sometimes I don't know how to maneuver in some of those moments. Like, I don't know how to play the middle ground of knowing what's best. That's what I'm asking you right now. This is beyond a podcast.
Yeah.
This is just me trying to be better in these moments for you and with you.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that those weren't things that you offered. It's just like, when you are so what I was working on was coding. Just like real deep technical stuff that I like, bit rates. I don't know what the fuck a bit rate is, but when you're already in that space and all of the tabs are already open, where if I make one mistake, it changes everything. But then the option is, can we pay somebody to do it? I don't even know where to get them to start.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, like, I don't know where to bring them in. I don't know how much of this is too personal, because we're also working with money. We're working with websites. I'm doing the podcast setup, OBS, a switcher, coding, a landing page for our mentorship program, posting for, you know, the retreat stuff. And it's just, I would have to literally pause all of the open tabs that are open.
Talking about in your mind. Okay.
And then now open a whole new tab to figure out, how can I bring somebody into this and give this to them? What's worth giving to them? What's a little too sensitive to give to them? What do we trust to give to them? What's necessary and what's not? So it's like, I think I probably have to be a lot more realistic in what I can do and what I can't do, what I'm willing to do versus what I'm not willing to do. And then also, we don't know anybody that can do this. Like, we don't know anybody that could come to our house and do this. So it's like, either you gonna do it or I'm gonna do it. And I'm a lot more tech savvy. So it just wasn't a space where we could invite somebody in to do it for us. The thing that we could delegate, which was the thumbnails, you know, we did that, but I was already halfway through. So I think it's either a space to where it's like, when we know there's something that needs to be done, having the conversation of, is this something that needs to be outsourced? Or is this something where you just need space to be in your bag?
Is it room for, does it need to be done right now? Because that was part of what I was saying. Like, I know what you're saying with the tabs that's open. Once they open, sometimes it could feel like more work to close a tab, knowing you're going to have to go back to it. Do you feel like there's ever a time where that may be conducive to just prioritize one or a few things while holding the pain up? Damn, I know I got these tabs I got to get back to. Like, where are you at in that?
I think it is conducive to do that. I think it's actually smart to do that. That's why I don't think what you were asking of me was wrong. I think it just didn't align with what I felt.
Gotcha.
I didn't want to do that
Gotcha.
because of what I would have to continue to do. So I think it's smart to, like, you know, close some of those tabs and come back to them. But it's the other aspect of, I want to enjoy my life too.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to enjoy my life without these tabs being open.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really a lot of work to be able to put it away and fully put it away. But I've gotten to this place to where it's like, when I know that I have a to-do list in here, I feel that to-do list in my body.
Gotcha.
And so it's been moments where I remember like just being in beautiful places and doing beautiful things, and then looking at pictures like, I don't remember none of that. And I started doing researches on, why don't I remember certain moments in my life that have nothing to do with trauma? And when I looked it up, it says when the nervous system isn't present in that moment because it has so many tabs open of projections, things in the future that you still need to do, it doesn't allow you the safety to really take in your present moment because your body is literally in a completely different space. So while it's smart to say, I'm going to come back to that, that is the smartest thing to do. But then it's the aspect of the tab is still open, whether consciously or unconsciously. Most of the time when we put something to the side, we're not just walking around like, dang, I still got to do this. Dang, I still got to do this. But our body still feels the weight of it. So it's like this unacknowledged worry, this unacknowledged concern, this unacknowledged fear, this unacknowledged anxiousness and anxiety that just kind of sits on your neck, and you don't really know why you feel uneasy, but there's an uneasiness there because you know it's just a whole bunch of other things that you have to do. So it's really difficult because I understand what you're asking, and I would love to be able to do that. But I've also felt how good I feel when I knock it out. Like when I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and call this doctor, get this appointment. Let me go ahead and put this on autopilot so I don't have to worry about doing it. Let me get all of these tasks done. And I recognize when I do that, it feels like I just clean my room. Like I just mop my room. Like I just painted fresh new walls. Like everything feels clear. That's why I love clean environments so much, because I'm able to maneuver in them so freely, and I can feel good in really clean, clear spaces. So when I get those tabs and I close them and I start doing those to-do lists and I really complete what I said I was going to complete, there's like I get to finally relax and rest, as opposed to Thursday's already consumed because I know what I got to do there. Friday's consumed, I got a client there. Sunday's consumed, I already know. Like, when is my week gonna be clear of me not having to do tasks? And I think it's more of the frustration of life in general, of constantly having to do shit that you just genuinely don't want to do. And to some degree, these things are fun. But when you got to keep doing them, it kind of takes the fun out of it when there's not like the woo-saw time, the fun time where it's not just weighing on you. So I don't even know how to tell you to show up in those moments, because I think I'm genuinely learning as well. I think it's a lot different when there's a 9 to 5 and you can go to work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's kind of delegated for you and to you.
Yeah.
But when you're an entrepreneur,
a couple
entrepreneur, you got the responsibilities that you have. I have the responsibilities that I have, and we both put those responsibilities together. But there's a laundry list of constant responsibilities.
I think you did answer it, and I recognize in this moment, like I'm kind of I'd be scared. I didn't really know until after the fact that you was in that much depression last year, and I was depressed a large portion of my life, so I know what that space is like. It don't matter how well things may be going on the surface, that don't connect to what you feel in depression. You can have every reason in the world to not be depressed, and that shit still show up. And since I know you, I haven't been with you while you've been in a depressed state. I've heard about your previous ones. So since knowing that, in these moments, as you was just talking, I'm recognizing, yes, it's about doing my best to protect you, but it's also fear on my part, because I know what depression can do to a person. Maybe some control, because I don't want you to have to go to that space. And I hear you and it connects to the asceticism. I just gotta let you be crucified in some of these moments and just trust that you got the wherewithal and the strength.
Why do you think that scares you so much?
I tried to kill myself from depression.
Yeah.
I know what that shit can do, and I didn't know you was depressed until after the fact. Pretty much the whole last year, I know you were struggling with Cleo and just mad shit that was going on in your life personally. But that was scary to hear. I never told you I was scared when you told me that. And it's not like I walk around with that fear or nothing like that. But I'm seeing now subtly, subliminally in some of these moments where I want to say, take your foot off the gas, because I know where it could potentially lead. That's what's there. Like I'm recognizing that within myself. And that's something I got to work on within myself, and just trust your process. Yeah. And I got to figure it out as I go. It's not like, men want a nice, neat, okay, this is what I do. This is what I do. It ain't going to be that. Yeah. It's going to be some times where I do need to suggest, where I need to just watch you be crucified and deal with the fear within myself of where that could potentially lead, as far as things like depression and all that. And then understanding too, you just gave me more clarity of, men are built to compartmentalize and fragment and have this running diatribe of things to do. And of course we get overwhelmed, we get frustrated, but our systems are more so psychologically built to be able to handle that in ways where it don't hurt. And we just talked about in the previous episode how men are always trying to find ways to conserve energy, to conserve time and all that different shit. But God gave us that gift to be able to do that. Partially why y'all are superior in certain ways with being able to manage all this emotion and creativity. In a lot of ways, we can't do that as much as y'all. But when much is, like I told my son the other day, when much is given, as much is required. And I realize now that I can have the tabs open. I got the propensity to be able to really truly close the tabs when it's necessary. And you do too. But when you genuinely have to close them, that shit hurt. I didn't recognize that before. Like, it don't hurt me to have to close the tabs. And I know you're speaking for yourself, but I think women at large will be able to relate to this. I think that's going to give a lot of men a lot more clarity that may be with a powerful, brilliant, creative being like you are, and understanding the mechanics and the makeup of what's going on in here and how that connects to here, and how we really genuinely just got to let you scrape your knee. You know what I'm saying? Let you fall if you got to fall. Let you burn out. Let you get depressed if that's what's necessary. And in the moments where we feel compelled to just hold the mirror up, we do that. But I think you just gave me the download on, and just giving you the space to bust the spiritual nut, if you will. And if you got to go to the bottom of the pit of depression to not just accomplish something, but to discover what you need to discover along the way, like in that moment, it's like, nigga, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, and I'm not enjoying my life. What we discovered in you in your fast and your intentions for why you wanted to do that, getting out of your way and just letting you have whatever space you need to have to realize what you realize in 6 days. Getting out of the way of an extremely powerful woman is something that manhood is not used to. It's the first generation of this level of your power being on display in so many different ways. So we are really on the fly trying to update these old paradigms and archetypes of how we protect y'all. in the moment on the fly as y'all trying to figure it out
Yeah.
at the same time. So you feel like you didn't answer it, but you gave me what I needed to receive and clarity in that moment.
Yeah. Well, I do appreciate that, because I didn't know that it scared you, because you take the reins and lead me in such a easeful and beautiful way, and you'll sit down and write down a schedule with me, a calendar, and with every day you're like, what you gonna eat today, and making sure I get my vitamins and my minerals, and making sure I'm drinking water. And so I didn't know that it scared you, but I do sense your intentionality in making sure I don't use too many of my points, making sure I don't go overboard, that I don't exhaust myself, that I am moving slowly and taking my time. And I think it's so confusing probably to both of us, because I mean, I didn't give myself permission to really embody my power until I stopped drinking alcohol. Really not even then. This happened in 2020.
Yeah.
Where I recognized, like, oh shit, I'm powerful as hell.
And I showed up right in that pocket.
Exactly.
So you ain't have time to truly,
So just like Jean Grey, where they like, Jean, relax, you killing everybody. And she's like, I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know how to, you know what I'm saying? So there's the confusion that I have as well. Like, what do I do with all of this? And it's genuinely painful. It's not like, it's so weird, because for me, when I see women on social media, I think it's odd because, some people are doers. And that's why I tell people all the time, you be mindful who you compare yourself to, because everybody don't work because they love it. Some people work because they need it. It helps them avoid the parts of themselves that they're afraid of when they finally sit still and get quiet. But they are still operating in their power to some degree.
Yeah.
But my thing is, it's the confusion of, I don't know that I actually want to use my power in these ways. It's just that I know that I can, so I do. The way that I thought I would be using my power would be more of like, just for me to heal, grow, and evolve. But it's so many components in using your power and making sure that it lands for everybody. Because how well I nurture my power benefits you, benefits us as a family, benefits my mom, right? Then it benefits my clients, it benefits those on social media. But it's like, to just even use the power, you got to set up switchboards and OBS and learn how to use Canon cameras. And I think there's a part of me that didn't expect all of the technology aspects. I thought I was just gonna be frolicking. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought I was about to be frolicking. I thought a lot of my power requires masculinity. It doesn't just require the softness of femininity. So it's genuinely confusing, because like, how the fuck do you do coding softly? How do you do coding? I'm looking at numbers, words, equations. I'm back in a math class.
Supposed to do it annoyed and frustrated,
right?
And disconnected.
And so I still empathize with the part of you that's like, I know what depression does to people, and I know what exhaust and burnout does. So there is room for you to be like, hold on, wait, what's the balance? And I think what we've just discovered is we haven't quite figured it out yet. I think it's okay that we don't have the answer to that yet. We know where it can go. I know how to use my words, especially now that you're like, hey, before you ever get to another place like that, you better open your mouth and use your words and let me know. So, and the crazy thing was, I didn't know until I knew, which was at the end of the year. Like, damn, that was a sucky ass year.
Yeah.
No matter how much beautiful things happen, us being on tour, all of that. So I think we've just gotten to a place to where we can work out maybe even a like an emergency plan. If somebody breaks into your house, you got to have an emergency plan. You got to know how you're going to maneuver certain moments. So maybe it's just an opportunity for us to create an emergency plan in regards to when it's time for me to exert energy, because it's actually not often.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I've changed my clients to where I only do clients on Tuesdays. And then the rest of the week is working on miscellaneous things. But like, for instance, this podcast, I see that this requires an exertion of energy. So maybe there's a emergency plan that looks like, hey, we get the podcast equipment on Friday. We set that shit up on Saturday. We don't do nothing else. It's just a day of setup. Yeah. And then we give ourselves the next day to just,
about that.
Rest. And the same when I have to do a portal, like writing a book, because that's a portal as well. Yeah. Giving myself or us creating an emergency plan together. So I don't get to those places of exhaust or burnout when it's not necessary. Yeah. Because you've also mentioned you need to get back to traveling. You need to get back in your van. Yeah. You need to start doing the things that make you actually feel good. I think that is the balance that we're actively working through. We got a plan to get in the van in the next upcoming weeks. Yeah. So there's things that we have in place. But it's a scary space for me to be in too, because I don't know when I'm gonna be released from it. I think a lot of women, I think men experience this too. I think a lot of women experience it because it feels more like chores and tasks to just do to keep things running and functioning. But you've also expressed moments where there's a blanket of pressure. So there's moments where men feel it as well. And I think when you express the blanket of pressure, it also scares me too. And that's why I'm like, okay, you need me to rub your feet? Is there anything I can do? It's not a walking on eggshells. It's a really trying to figure out, how do I love you in this space? How do I show up for you in this space? And it's just like when somebody loses a parent.
You gotta just let them go through it.
And we really don't know what to do. We can be like, okay, what, what do you need? And the person will not know what to tell you. Tell me if you need anything. And they don't really know what to say, because it's just such uncharted territory where we don't know how to lead. We don't know how to guide. We don't know how to love. We don't know how to, just be there. So there's room to just go through those moments, come back and make contingency plans, emergency plans. Just like we speak about the love Bible, what looked like love to you before in the past, once you level up, that stuff don't look like love anymore. You got to update your love Bible and discern what do you need in those moments. And I think we have enough cachet to be able to go back to those experiences and create emergency plans so they don't happen again.
Yeah, and in closing, last thing I would say, and thank you for telling me that about the blanket of pressure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna continue to let you know. I've literally been saying no blanket today.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Checking in those ways when you ask what's up, which has been helpful for me too. And it's been showing me how, since I've been aware of it and vocalizing it, it's not as consistent as I thought. Probably 2, maybe 2.5 days a week is there. And just by being able to have awareness and recognize it, even while it's on me, it's not of me, it's not mine. You know what I'm saying? Just being able to have that awareness. But I will take that into account, how that can make you feel the same way with some of these moments where I'm vying for your peace and your ease. Last thing I wanted to say is, as far as men, it's part of why men can tend to feel like it's never enough. Because even with the depression thing, I didn't feel like this, but I could see how a lot of men would have approached it. We got a beautiful life. You got a
Yeah.
great husband. We
Yeah.
doing great things, and you still depressed.
Yeah.
I understand how diverse a spirit and a soul is, and how so many things can be true on what your spirit is experiencing moment to moment. A lot of men don't have that wherewithal or that range of understanding. And in those moments, case in point, when we was getting into it, and you was like, you just get to go to the gym and structure your day how you want to. And I had brought up when you were in a depression, while we was in it, I didn't know, but after the fact, you didn't have no wherewithal to show up as far as posting. I got it. If I got to pack this whole thing out myself and I don't be wanting to post all the time either, but I knew I got it. In moments where you may be locked in on that, I'm doing even more domestic stuff to make sure I'm trying to balance the poles in some way, shape or form. And it's not sinister on your part, but when the tabs are open and the tabs hurt and it's blocking you from being able to enjoy the beautiful moments or register or even remember the beautiful moments, and you may express that to a man, it's like, what I've been doing this whole time, don't none of that work for you? That's not factoring into no degree. And we know now from this conversation and the clarity you've brought from the feminine perspective, for the men that's listening, that's not usually the case. That's not usually what your woman is saying in a lot of these situations. It's just our systems are structured so different that you could give all the energy in the world as a man, and it can still be in a way where I think a lot of it is your maternal energy too. Being that women's maternal energy, but being that you have chosen to use your maternal energy to birth all these different things. Women have a baby, their maternal energy just, for the most part, focuses on the child more so than their own selves. You got all these babies floating around. You got 3 babies in the crib in a certain way, right? But you don't have the luxury of being able to focus and concentrate that maternal care and worry and appreciation for attention to detail, all this other shit that can put a blanket of being able to actually just feel the moment for real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which to men can sometimes register as, it's never enough. I can't please you. It's a deeper conversation than that.
Yeah, it is. And it's not personal. And I think people have to get to a place to where they vocalize that it's not personal, but also vocalizing the appreciation of your efforts to try to get us to not be in those spaces. But you know what? While you were saying that, it just dawned on me on why I was depressed last year. Because I mean, I'm like, I don't know what happened. The only thing that I remember happening was Cleo got severely injured, and I was just, so scared. I thought they was gonna have to amputate her leg, amputate her tail. But year 7 is the year that my German Shepherd Sasha died. So that's the grief of losing my best friend.
Damn.
It didn't even, it dawned on me that it dawned on me that I thought Cleo was also gonna die at year 7 because Cleo turned 7 last year and Sasha died at age 7. So in my mind, it was like, oh my God, like I gotta make sure Cleo's okay so she doesn't die too. But it just didn't dawn on me that I didn't fully grieve Sasha because I was in my addiction. I was an alcoholic and I still had to go to work as a police officer. So while I was deeply sad, I wasn't just sad about Sasha. I was sad about my whole life. I was an alcoholic. But year 7, you know how people be like, when their parents pass away, when that month comes, they just grieve the whole month. And I've always been like, man, it's so interesting that they say, this time of year is always hard for me. I never fully understood it, even though I empathize with it. It wasn't my experience, so I didn't understand it. But now that we're having this conversation, it's like the whole year turned into unconscious grieving of Sasha. And so in that, it's like there's nothing that could have been done other than, just allowing me to be in that space and allowing that grief to naturally take its course and do what it needed to do. And, now that there's more awareness that something like that can come up, I think it's a lot easier for us to make these, you know, emergency or contingency plans to, you know, when you say you feel a blanket of pressure,
Yeah.
I know that it's my opportunity to show up for you and just lead our family. And then when there's a moment where we see I got to exert a lot of energy, or I feel like there may be some underlying, you know, depressive things coming up, where we can make emergency plans too. But that just dawned on me. I didn't think about that before.
And promise y'all, I know this is a long ass episode. We may have to put this into 2 parts, but all this clarity is coming during what? 40-day sex fast. And people ask us all the time, why y'all doing that? Y'all married? What's the point? You can attract abundance through sex. We get all that. Every time we intentionally go into this space and your food fast inspired, like maybe day 3, I'm like, you know what? We supposed to do a sex fast too.
Yeah.
And we honoring that. We done went to Miguel concerts and all that. Nah, I still ain't getting none.
Because normally we go to that Miguel concert,
what
come
time
home,
it is,
and
right? But all this clarity is coming. And you mentioned the year 7. I actually put a post on my page last week. We had hit 77,000 subscribers on our YouTube. The most recent video at that time had just hit 7,000 views. And then I saw some sign of 777 right in front of me. I took a picture. I sent it to you, and I had just put it all into a reel, showing people this is what we have. When we take energy away from the main primitive urges, and when we usually direct our energy to, God could really work. Universe could really work because you're hearing on a different level. It ain't some mystical, magical thing where you hear God come into your ear and say, "Do this," but your clarity just widens because now you have the post-nut clarity of not giving so much of your energy away in some of these ways, whether it's the food or the sex or watching shows or whatever it may be. So this moment was being ripened through the decision of you doing the fast, of us doing this sex fast, and being able to click on the podcast thing, and we just gonna give to y'all, and us getting what we need to get from this moment for each other.
Yeah, and you got to tell them what day we on or how much longer we have.
We are on day 26. So we got 20. No. I keep saying it backwards. We on day 14, so I think we got 26 days to go.
Okay.
Yeah. We do at least 2-3 extended sex fasts a year. We did one last year that was like 72 days. And we just know when it's time. And we don't know what's on the horizon beyond, okay, let's do one. We don't know what abundance is trying to come into our life, what clarity is trying to happen, what we may need to try to heal through physically, what death may be on the way.
Yeah.
But we just know it's time. So I know everybody talks about sexual healing, shout out to Marvin Gaye, but non-sexual healing is available to us as well. And I think this is a beautiful indication of what it can do.
Yeah, because this was whole like a little family counseling session. But having that clarity in the body is what allows these things to come up. So it sounds like what the homework assignment is for everybody to create their emergency and contingency plans to know how to show up for one another. That way, when we get into whatever the space is, it could be an angry space, it could be a sad space, having something that kind of makes it clear for your partner to know, how do I love you in this space? How do I show up for you? How can I honor you? How can I stay out of your way? What do you need from me to where I can help you maximize wherever you are? Not necessarily take you out of it unless that's what you require or what you're asking. But what do you need from me, and how can I love you?
Yeah. People say the new thing is, can y'all suffer well together?
Yeah.
But there's even a caveat to that. Can you be well in watching your partner suffer through some of this shit?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you ready to do another episode today? Hell no. We got we gave what we got to give today. So as always, like, comment, subscribe. Make sure y'all hit the notification bell, because sometimes the algorithm will work you out of being aware when we post a video. But y'all been doing a great job supporting and sharing and commenting and continuing the conversation. One more spot left. If y'all see this in time for our Texas healing retreat, our weekend retreat, you don't even got to take a lot of time off work. We got one spot left. Hit us up about that. Get the Energy Bougie merch. The link should be in the caption for this video. Remember who the fuck you are. Somewhere around damn near 11,000-12,000 copies sold. keep bringing that thing up. My album is out. Yahweh, Yes, All Wounds Eventually Heal. Make sure y'all support the album. Our virtual mentorship community.
Oh yeah, it's popping.
It's dope. It's fun. It's community from all over the world. And we having a great time in there with our people that have already signed up. It's only $11.11 a month. You got a lot of apps that you pay a lot more for and don't get as much from. So hit us up about that as well. And then stay tuned. We will be starting our Houston events. We can't say exactly what it is just yet, but somewhere around the 4th of July, we will be doing either a monthly or bi-monthly event. That's going to be a time. You know what I mean? It ain't just straight healing.
Yeah, we about to change the game.
You know what I mean? It's something to do every month or two.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that as well. Did I cover everything? Counseling. I'm accepting one-on-one clients, couples clients, family counseling from ages 12 and up. Candyss is also accepting one-on-one clients.
Yeah.
Sasha Flowers, skincare. Somebody in the group just asked, where can I get my Sasha? She only got the website up, so get on her so we can get that back cracking. I think that's it.
Yeah.
So thank y'all for listening to us and watching us cry and all that good stuff. Peace.
Go to my camera. Bye. Wait a minute, I could take off all this makeup.
I'm almost there. My nigga, everything is love, but that don't anything I love. Yeah.
Peace, beloved.